My name is Elena Voss, and at 34, I'm the kind of person who thrives on order. Not the chaotic kind imposed by others, but the clean, self-made structure of a life built from scratch. As a senior risk assessor for Pacific Trust Insurance, my days are spent dissecting policies, spotting loopholes, and ensuring that vulnerabilities don't turn into catastrophes. I'm the one who says no, with a polite smile, backed by data that could sink a ship. Precision is my religion. Emotion is a liability I avoid like a bad investment. Last spring, I closed on my dream home in Willow Creek Estates, a gated community on the outskirts of Portland, Oregon. It wasn't just any house. It was a sleek modern build on a corner lot, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a private wooded backyard, a home office that doubled as my command center, and a rooftop deck that felt like my personal escape pod from the world. I paid cash, every cent scraped from years of deferred bonuses, smart investments, and living like a monk in a studio apartment. The deed was in my name alone, a fortress against the entropy of shared obligations. Willow Creek looked idyllic on the surface. Manicured lawns, uniform mailboxes, and a clubhouse that hosted community-building barbecues. But lurking beneath was the HOA, the Homeowners Association, a beast of bureaucracy run by self-appointed guardians of standards. I'd done my due diligence before buying. The covenants were a novella of nonsense, from banning visible trash cans to dictating the exact shade of beige for garage doors. No deviations without board approval, the fine print warned, as if creativity was a felony. I kept my purchase quiet, not out of paranoia, but strategy. In my line of work, you don't advertise assets until you're ready to defend them. The day I moved in, I bypassed the welcome wagon, hiring discreet movers who worked at dawn. My furniture was minimalist, a standing desk for late-night analyses, biometric locks on every entry, and a smart security system that fed directly to my encrypted cloud. The backyard? I planted native shrubs, subtle, eco-friendly, nothing to raise eyebrows. Or so I thought. The HOA President was Vivian Hargrove, a 52-year-old retiree who styled herself as the neighborhood's moral compass. Everyone called her Viv in public, but behind closed doors, she was the archetype of a Karen. Impeccably coiffed hair, pearl earrings, and a perpetual smile that screamed passive aggression. Viv had turned Willow Creek into her fiefdom, enforcing rules with the zeal of a cult leader. Trash out too early? Fine. Holiday lights up past January 1st? Warning letter. She patrolled in her golf cart, clipboard in hand, documenting infractions like a wannabe detective. Rumors swirled. She'd once fined a family $500 for a kiddie pool that disrupted aesthetic harmony. Her husband, Ted, was a spineless enabler, nodding along at board meetings while she steamrolled dissent. Viv's power came from manipulation, whisper campaigns in the community Facebook group, where she'd post veiled complaints about certain residents flouting our shared values. It was social engineering at its pettiest, turning neighbors into informants. I settled in seamlessly, or so it seemed. My morning started with coffee on the deck, reviewing client files as the sun filtered through the trees. Evenings were for unwinding in silence, the hum of the city distant enough to ignore. The house wasn't just shelter, it was sovereignty. No roommates, no family drama, just me and my rules. I changed my last name professionally from Ellis to Voss years ago, a firewall against my overbearing relatives, but in Willow Creek, I was anonymous. Until the first crack appeared. It was a Tuesday evening when my doorbell cam pinged. There stood Viv in a pastel cardigan, holding a basket of what looked like muffins. Her smile was all teeth. "Hello, new neighbor," she called, peering into the lens like it owed her an explanation. I watched from my phone at work, heart rate steady. "I'm Vivian Hargrove, HOA President." Just a welcome gift. Her tone was saccharine, but her eyes scanned the property like a hawk spotting prey. I didn't answer. Instead, I texted the front gate security to note her as a solicitor, technically accurate, since she was pushing her agenda. She left the basket on the porch, but not before glancing at my shrubs. The next day, An email arrived from the HOA. Welcome to Willow Creek. As per covenants, all landscaping must be approved. Please submit plans for review. Attached was a form longer than a tax return. I ignored it. Approval? For plants that were there when I bought the place? It was the first test, a probe for weakness. Viv didn't know who she was dealing with. I wasn't some wide-eyed first-timer. I assessed risks for a living. This was a vulnerability I could patch quietly. I replied with a single line. Existing landscaping predates purchase. No changes made. Short, factual, no room for debate. But Viv wasn't one for facts. Her response came swift. All residents must comply with current standards. Board meeting Thursday. Attendance encouraged. Encouraged my ass. It was a summons disguised as courtesy. That Thursday, I skipped the meeting, citing a work conflict. The minutes, posted online, were a masterclass in passive aggression. Discussion on Lot 47's unapproved foliage. Motion to issue notice carried. Lot 47, my house. The notice arrived certified mail, violation, non-conforming plantings. Remove within 14 days or face fines. Fines for bushes? It was laughable, a dark comedy of suburban tyranny. I pictured Viv, smug in her boardroom, dictating harmony while sowing discord. But I stayed silent, observing. In risk assessment, you don't react impulsively, you gather data. I installed extra cams, angled to catch the street. Sure enough, Viv's golf cart cruised by daily, slowing at my curb. Neighbors whispered, Mrs. Patel, next door, waved hesitantly one morning, then averted her eyes. The community group buzzed. New owner on corner lot thinks she's above the rules. Willow Creek standards. Anonymous, of course, but Viv's fingerprints were all over it. I could have fought then, submitted the damn form with sarcasm dripping from every field. What patience was my weapon? I'd seen patterns like this at work. Bullies escalate when ignored, revealing their hand. Viv's next move was a friendly visit. She showed up unannounced, knocking insistently. Through the cam, her face twisted from fake cheer to irritation. We need to discuss your compliance, she barked. I watched from inside, sipping tea, as she scribbled notes. Later, another email. Failure to engage noted. Fines accruing at $50 per day. It was extortion wrapped in legalese. The dark humor hit me. Here was a woman who'd probably never worked a real job, playing queen over lawns. Society's satire, the idle rich, or pretending to be, lording over the working class with clipboards. I laughed alone in my office, a bitter chuckle that masked the growing fury. But I documented everything. Emails, cam footage, even timestamps of her drive-bys. Data was my shield. As weeks turned to months, the pressure mounted subtly. My mailbox overflowed with notices, each more absurd. Exterior paint shade variance detected. Submit for approval. My house was the standard gray. She was fabricating now. Neighbors avoided me at the gate, their pitying glances screaming, "Don't cross Viv." It was social isolation by design, a sham beam of community unity. One evening, Mr. Jenkins from across the street shuffled over, glancing nervously. "Look, miss, just talk to her. She's got the board in her pocket." Last guy who fought ended up selling. His voice trembled, a victim of the system. I nodded politely. "Thanks for the advice." Inside, I seethed. This wasn't about plants, it was power. Viv feared independence. It threatened her throne. I was the outlier, the one who didn't bend. And in her world, that was heresy. The breaking point loomed, but I held firm. My home office became mission control. Spreadsheets, tracking infractions, legal research on HOA laws. Oregon statutes were clear. Associations couldn't retroactively enforce on existing features without cause. But Viv didn't care about law. She was the law. Her entitlement was a black comedy, a woman who volunteered for control because real life offered none. I imagined her at home, Ted fetching her wine while she plotted. Koi Trong TC. Laughing through rage became my mantra. Every fine notice was a joke, a punchline to her absurdity. But beneath it, the tension built, a whisper turning to a roar. I knew escalation was coming. Bullies like her didn't stop at paper. And when it did, I'd be ready, my counterstrike calculated, turning her tyranny into her undoing. The incident that shattered the fragile peace arrived on a crisp autumn Saturday, disguised as a routine neighborhood event. Willow Creek's annual Community Harmony Day was in full swing at the clubhouse, a farce of 4 smiles, potluck casseroles, and Viv's keynote on upholding our values. I'd skipped it, of course, opting for a quiet hike in the woods behind my lot. But as I returned, sweat dampened and exhilarated, the real show awaited. Parked in my driveway was Viv's golf cart, emblazoned with the HOA logo like a badge of conquest. She stood on my porch, clipboard in one hand, a measuring tape in the other, peering through my sidelight window. Ted hovered nearby, looking uncomfortable in his khakis, while 2 board members, Mrs. Klein and Mr. Dorsey, lingered by the curb, phones out like amateur paparazzi. My security app buzzed with alerts, motion detected, audio recording active. I approached quietly, heart steady but mind racing through scenarios. "Excuse me," I called from the sidewalk, voice calm as a boardroom negotiation. Viv spun, her face a mask of feigned surprise, melting into authority. "MS. Voss. Finally, we meet properly." Her smile was all edges, pearls glinting under the afternoon sun. "We're just conducting a routine inspection. Your ongoing violations require verification." Ted shifted, avoiding my gaze. "Violations?" I echoed, stepping onto my property line. "This is private property. You have no right to be here without notice." She waved the clipboard dismissively. "As per Covenant Section 7.2, the board may inspect exteriors at any time to ensure compliance. Your shrubs are non-native invasives, potential ecological hazard." Non-native? They were Oregon blackberries, as local as rain. It was a lie bold and baseless. The board members murmured agreement, Dorsey snapping a photo of my front door. "We're documenting for the record," Viv added, her tone dripping condescension. "You've ignored multiple notices. Fines are now $1,200. Cooperation would be appreciated." Ted cleared his throat. "Viv, maybe we should—" "Ted, dear, handle the tape," she snapped, cutting him off like a disobedient pet. He meekly measured my walkway. It was theater, absurd and invasive, a Karen in her element, turning a welcome mat into a crime scene. I felt the coy Trong TUC bubble up. Here was a grown woman measuring concrete, as if it held the secrets to world peace. But the intrusion stung, a violation of my sanctuary. "Leave now," I said, pulling out my phone to record. "Or I'll call the authorities." Viv's eyes narrowed, the mask cracking. "Authorities? For doing our duty? This community thrives on rules, MS. Voss. Loners like you disrupt the harmony we all work so hard to maintain." Her words were a Cham Beam masterpiece. Harmony, enforced by trespass. The neighbors watching from windows embodied society's hypocrisy. United in gossip, divided in action. Dorsey chimed in, "Just submit the forms. It's not hard. Easy for him. A yes man on her payroll of favors." I stood firm. "This is harassment. Get off my property." Viv straightened, clutching her pearls literally. "Harassment? We're protecting property values. Your attitude is the real issue. Selfish, uncooperative. The board will hear about this." With a huff, she signaled retreat, but not before Ted accidentally brushed against my mailbox, knocking an askew. They piled into the cart and buzzed away, leaving me in the dust of their entitlement. Inside, I reviewed the footage, crystal clear, her peering inside, their unauthorized snaps. Data gold. But the violation lingered, a whisper of rage building to a dawn hum. Word spread like wildfire in the Facebook group. "Inspected the scofflaw on lot 47 today. Uncooperative as expected. Enforce the rules." Comment piled on, "About time. My kids can't play near those wild bushes." Lies, amplified by anonymity. Viv was orchestrating a smear. painting me as the villain in her suburban saga. It was social cham beam at its darkest, a clique of adults bullying over aesthetics, fearing anyone who didn't conform. I responded privately to the board. Cease and desist all unauthorized access. Legal action pending if continued. No reply, but the drive-bys intensified. Viv's cart became a fixture, sometimes with volunteers in tow. One night, my cams caught her shining a flashlight into my backyard, checking for unapproved structures. Creepy, illegal, hilarious in its desperation. I laughed bitterly, imagining her justifying it as community service. The escalation hit peak absurdity when a certified letter arrived. Notice of lien for unpaid fines, $2,500. Failure to comply may result in foreclosure proceedings. Foreclosure? For fictional fines? It was extortion, a power play wrapped in legalese. In my office, I dissected the covenants, loopholes galore. HOAs couldn't lien without due process, but Viv banked on ignorance. I consulted a lawyer friend anonymously. Document everything. They're overreaching. Patience frayed, but I held. The black humor deepened. Society let these Karens reign. Cham beamed the American dream of homeownership turned nightmare by petty dictators. Neighbors like Jenkins whispered support. She's out of control, but publicly stayed silent, cowards and cardigans. The tension dawned in, a storm brewing. His next move? A special board meeting to address chronic noncompliance. Invites went out, my name redacted but obvious. IRSVP no, but watch via Planet Ally stream. Viv ranted. This resident thinks she's above us. We must unite against such entitlement. Irony thick as her makeup. As fines accrued, my mailbox became a battlefield. Anonymous notes. Play nice or move out. One evening, returning from work, I found my shrubs vandalized, hacked to the roots. Cam showed a hooded figure, but the gate screamed Ted. Proof? Circumstantial, but mounting. The Koi Trong 2C turned sour. This was war. I filed a police report for vandalism. Non-emergency, but on record. The officer chuckled. HOA drama? We've seen worse. But he noted it. Viv's response? A group post. Sad to see some resort to false accusations. Community first. She was gaslighting the neighborhood, twisting facts like pretzels. Society's mirror. Power corrupts the idle, turning empathy to enmity. I observed, documented, the whisper of my plan turning to a roar. Revenge wasn't destruction. It was exposure, turning her rules against her. The boiling point neared. Whispers from allies. Viv was rallying for a compliance visit with authority. I fortified. Extra cams, lawyer on speed dial. The dawn and built, my patience a coiled spring. When they came, it would bung no, and her kingdom would crumble in hilarious, satisfying chaos. The storm broke on a drizzly November morning, the kind where Portland's gray skies mirrored the brewing absurdity. My doorbell cam alerted me at work. Viv, flanked by Ted and two burly maintenance volunteers, stood at my gate, armed with tools and smugness. Official HOA enforcement action, she announced to the lens, waving a paper like a royal decree. Open up, MS. Voss, or will proceed as authorized. Authorized? By whom? Her ego. I watched live, heart pounding, but mind sharp. This was trespass 2.0, escalating from probes to invasion. Ted shifted nervously, rain dripping off his cap. Viv, are you sure? Ted, focus, she hissed, her voice a whip. The volunteers, hired goons, really had my lock. One produced bolt cutters. Bolt cutters? For a gate? It was black comedy gold, a Karen commanding a siege over shrubs. I dialed 911 calmly. Intruders attempting forced entry at my property. Recorded on camera. The dispatcher assured response. Meanwhile, Viv ranted, your noncompliance forces our hand. Those plants are a blight. Blight? They were thriving until her sabotage. The goon snipped my chain, clang, and marched in. Ted hesitated, but followed like a trained dog. They headed to my backyard, tools glinting. My cams captured all. Viv directing. Remove those invasives. Board orders. Invasives. Her new buzzword for anything uncontrolled. I felt the Koi Trong TUC surge. Society Cham beam, where community meant mob rule. Neighbors peeked from curtains. Phones up, but no one intervened. Cowards, enabling her tyranny. Sirens wailed as they hacked my bushes. 2 squad cars pulled up, officers emerging with stern faces. What's going on? The lead cop barked. Viv spun, composure cracking. Officer, thank goodness. We're HOA board, enforcing covenants. She thrust her paper. The cop scanned it, unimpressed. This isn't a warrant. This is trespass. Ted paled. The goons froze mid-chop. She ignored notices. Viv protested, voice pitching up. Fines unpaid. We're protecting the neighborhood. The cop eyed the destruction. Looks like vandalism to me. I arrived then, pulling up in my car, face neutral. That's my property, I said, pointing. Viv's eyes blazed. This is your fault, defying rules. The officer intervened. Ma'am, step back. They questioned me. I showed footage. Uninvited, armed entry. Viv sputtered. Armed? Tools for maintenance. Maintenance, euphemism for assault. The cops warned her. Leave now or arrests. But Viv, entitlement incarnate, doubled down. You can't. We're the authority here. Ted tugged her arm. Viv, let's go. She shoved, yelling, this is injustice. The cop sighed, cuffing her for resisting. Assault on officer? No, but her push on Ted? Ms. aimed, it grazed the cop. Chaos. Ted begging. Goons fleeing. Viv shrieking as they led her away. Neighbors gawked, filming. The group exploded. HOA Pres arrested? Drum alert. I stood silent, the dawn and releasing in quiet satisfaction. But this was just the spark. Post-arrest, Viv's machine kicked in. Released on bail, she launched a smear blitz. Group posts, false accusations from a rogue resident. Defending our community got me persecuted. Stand with Viv. Comments sympathetic. Poor Viv. Victims of overreach. Overreach? Irony lost on her. She rallied the board for an emergency vote to expel me. Impossible legally, but theater. Anonymous calls harass me. Comply or leave. One night, eggs splatter my windows. Cams caught a teen, likely bribed. The Cham beam deepened. A harmonious community rotting from within, led by a Karen fearing dethronement. I lawyered up, suing for harassment, trespass, defamation. My attorney, sharp as a tack. We've got video gold. They'll fold. But Viv escalated, desperate. She doxed me subtly, posting my violations with address hints. Extended allies piled on. Emails from fake accounts. Selfish bitch ruining Willow Creek. Society's dark side. Online mobs amplifying petty power. I documented the roar building. Then, the masterstroke, her attempt to forge approval. My lawyer uncovered it. Viv backdated minutes claiming I'd agreed to removal. Forgery, a felony in HOA land. The Koi Trong TUC peaked. Her rules, her downfall. I filed charges, turning victim to avenger. The tension dawned into fever pitch. Whispers. Board members defecting, tired of her reign. Jenkins confided. She's unhinged, threatened my fence over a bird feeder. Allies emerged, sharing stories. Viv's kingdom cracked, her low bitch exposed. The high trio loomed, court dates set. I prepared meticulously, data my weapon. Viv, panicking, her facade crumbling. The bung no neared, justice's sweet flip awaiting. The fallout intensified as weeks dragged. Viv, out on bail, transformed the community group into her war room. Posts daily. The truth about Lot 47, entitled Outsider Versus. Dedicated volunteers. HOA integrity. She twisted facts. I was assaulted by police while peacefully enforcing. Peacefully, with bolt cutters? The absurdity was Cham Beam Gold, a Karen rewriting history. Ted stayed silent, but rumors. He was packing bags. Board meetings turned circus. Klein resigned, citing toxic leadership. Viv ranted, "Traitors! This is mutiny." Mutiny in a suburb? Black humor at its finest. My lawsuit gained traction. Discovery revealed emails. Viv instructing goons, "Make it look official, scare her out." Damning. I leaked nothing, letting law grind. Neighbors shifted. Patel brought cookies, whispering, "We hate her too." The isolation flipped. Viv became the pariah. Her drive-bys ceased. Instead, she holed up plotting. One desperate ploy. Petition to reform covenants, banning uncooperative owners. It flopped. Only sycophants signed. Society beam. Power's illusion shattered by pushback. The roar built. I was ready for court, where her Lam Gwyn would face the ultimate Mia Mai, her own rules used against her. The courtroom in downtown Portland was a stark contrast to Willow Creek's faux elegance. Beige walls, fluorescent hum, the scent of old coffee and desperation. It was High Treo Day, the culmination of months of dawn intention. Viv and Ted sat at the defense table, her in a demure blouse buttoned to the neck, him slouched like a deflated balloon. Their public defender, a harried young guy, shuffled papers. The gallery was packed. Board members, neighbors, even reporters sniffing HOA scandal. I sat opposite, in a crisp gray suit, neutral, unassailable. My lawyer, MS. Reyes, leaned in. "We've got them cold. Just tell the truth." Truth, Viv's kryptonite. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Harlan, called order. Charges, trespass, vandalism, forgery, harassment. Viv pled not guilty, her voice quivering with rehearsed innocence. "Your Honor, this is a misunderstanding, a family-like community dispute." Family? Beam alert. Equating HOA to kin, justifying abuse. The prosecutor laid it out. Defendant Hargrove orchestrated unauthorized entry, property damage, and falsified documents to intimidate plaintiff Voss. Evidence rolled. My cam showed the gate snip, bush hack her flashlight prowls. Emails. Pressure her until she complies or leaves. The forgery. Backdated approvals with my signature photoshopped. Gasped from a gallery. Viv fidgeted, pearls clutched like a lifeline. Defense's turn. MS. Hargrove acted in good faith for the community's benefit. Good faith? With tools? The Coy-Trong TUC hit? Her benefit, mint control, Beam society's blind eye to petty tyrants. Witnesses, Ted mumbled, "She meant well." Klein defected, testified. Viv bullied us, threatened fines if we didn't back her. Mutiny exposed. Neighbors like Jenkins, "She's terrorized us for years." MS. Voss just fought back. The tide turned. Viv's facade cracked, eyes darting. Then my turn. I stood, voice steady. "Your Honor, this isn't about plants. It's about entitlement." I detailed the saga. Ignored notices, smears, invasion. Hargrove weaponized the HOA turning community into coercion. I bought a home for peace. She made it a prison. Show, don't tell. Footage played, her shrieking at cops, shove. Gallery murmured. She forged documents, vandalized my property, harassed me online. All because I said no. Viv interrupted. Lies? I was protecting values. Judge bang gavel. Control yourself. Irony. The rule enforcer breaking rules. Cross-exam. Defense probed. Didn't you ignore legitimate notices? I countered. Legitimate? Retroactive on existing features? Illegal under state law. Data dropped. Covenants analysis showing overreach. Viv took the stand, a performance of tears. I love Willow Creek. She disrupted our harmony. Harmony, her code for obedience. Prosecutor grilled. You entered without permission? It was necessary. Necessary? Black humor. Karen logic, where need trumps law. You forged her signature. A clerical error. Error. Euphemism for felony. She crumbled, admitting pressure but blaming me if she complied. The gallery shifted. Even sycophants averted eyes. Closing. Prosecutor. This is abuse of power, plain and simple. Defense. Overzealous, not criminal. Judge recessed. Tension electric. We waited, the dawn in peaking. Verdict. Guilty on all counts. MS. Hargrove, you've abused your position, turning a volunteer role into tyranny. Sentence. 6 months probation, $10,000 fine, 300 community service hours. Irony. Serving the community she terrorized. Barred from HOA roles forever. Ted. Accessory. Fined $5,000 probation. Viv sobbed. This is unfair. Unfair. Her favorite word, now boomeranged. The bung no hit. Gallery applause stifled by gavel. Outside, reporters swarmed. Viv pushed through, face thunderous. You'll regret this. But her power was dust. Neighbors approached me. Thank you, she's gone. Satisfaction washed over, a haughty wave. Justice flipped. The oppressor dethroned, her low bitch exposed. Post-verdict, the ripple. HOA reformed, new board elected transparently. Viv sold her house quietly, Ted divorcing. Group posts, finally free. No more Karen. My home, peaceful, shrubs regrown. The Cham beam lingered, society's lesson. Challenge tyrants, watch them fall. The roar quieted to whisper, but the triumph echoed. In the aftermath, Willow Creek transformed from a pressure cooker to a breathable suburb. The air cleared of Viv's toxic fog. My rooftop deck became a true sanctuary again, where I sipped wine watching sunsets, no longer scanning for golf carts. The new HOA board, diverse, reasonable, sent a genuine welcome. Let's rebuild together. Meetings focused on actual improvements, park upgrades, not petty fines. Neighbors waved freely. Patel hosted a barbecue, toasting to fresh starts. It was society's quiet redemption, Cham beam fading into hope. But echoes remained. Viv's downfall a cautionary tale, her entitlement a mirror to unchecked power. Weeks later, a certified letter arrived, not a notice but settlement. My lawsuit won, $50,000 damages, plus legal fees. Viv paid, bank account drained like her authority. Rumors. She moved to a condo sans HOA irony's punchline. Ted remarried, free at last. I donated half to a legal aid fund for HOA victims, paying forward the justice. Thế gửi trong tức evovet topu hả hay, hơ làm quyền bố mơ then, a sati phing đảo chiu. One crisp evening, Jenkins stopped by. You know, we all knew she was nuts, but no one spoke up. You did. His eyes held respect. Changed everything. I nodded. Boundaries matter. He chuckled. Yeah, and bolt cutters don't. We laughed. The dark humor sealing the bond. Society Cham beam. Cowards enable, but one stand inspires. My life resumed. Were promotions, risk assessment sharper from experience. Home office hummed. Biometric locks a reminder of victory. No more whispers, the roar silenced. But the lesson endured. Patience unmasks tyrants. Intelligence topples thrones. Months on, an email from an unknown. Viv's apology, court-mandated. I overstepped. Regret actions. Hollow, but closure. I deleted it, moving forward. Willow Creek flourished. Diversity in yards. No uniformity police. The ultimate Mia Mai. Her harmony birthed real community. And me? Elena Voss, no longer the outlier, but the catalyst. The American dream reclaimed. Home as haven, not battleground. Justice's flip, sweet, complete. Reflecting back, the saga's phases wove seamlessly. The quiet purchase, Viv's probing, escalating invasions, courtroom climax, and this peaceful denouement. Each step built the narrative, my silence turning to strategic thunder. The black humor persisted in memories. Viv's clipboard as scepter, her shrieks as swan song. Cham beam HOA. Suburbs breed Karens, but exposure prunes them. Cohen cock though a man. Her tearful defeat, Neighbors' gratitude. No more Donnan. Just bung no-s echo in tranquility. Occasionally, I scroll the old group, now vibrant with ideas, not indictments. A post. Thanks to the corner lot hero for dethroning the queen. Smiles. My shrubs bloomed wildly, a rebellious statement. Life's rhythm. Coffee, analyses, evenings unwinding. Friends visited, stories shared over wine. You took down a Karen empire. Laughter, healing. The true end. A year later, news clip, Viv volunteering at a shelter, probation's irony. Humbled? Perhaps. Me? Empowered, boundaries ironclad. The story closed, but its spirit lingered. Stand firm, watch justice prevail.